Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension in Hernando County, and today I'm here with my regular co-host, Lily Browning. Good morning, Lily. How you doing?
I'm just regular.
Okay, well, that's good. You're not always here, but then again, I'm not always here too, and you
Yeah.
have to fill in for me. But we generally have somebody here on Thursday mornings. And we have special guest Laura Bennett with us today. Good morning, Laura. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing good. Wishing we'd get some rain.
Yeah.
We got a few sprinkles this morning, and it's really, really dark out there right now. So it's might get
Good.
a little bit more, but I don't think we're supposed to get a whole lot.
Now,
Well,
why don't you tell us where Laura is from?
okay.
In case
Laura
they forgot.
is also with University of Florida Extension, and she is a multi-county livestock and pasture agent. So she covers Pasco County and Hernando County and Sumter County also. Is that it? Are there any more?
Yes, and actually, right now I'm temporarily covering Hillsborough County because there's a vacancy. So,
Oh my.
yeah, fun.
Yeah, you're stretched out pretty far.
Yes.
There's a lot of livestock in all of those counties too.
Yeah.
People
There is-
don't.
there's a
People
lot.
don't. People hear Hillsborough, they think Tampa, but it probably has a lot more agriculture than many of the other counties.
Right. Especially, vegetable and fruit agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people don't realize how much livestock we have here in Florida. And when you look at the cattle and the horses, and a lot of people are very interested in goats now, and we get pasture questions, which I just forward those to Laura. So if you ask me a pasture question, you're not getting an answer from me. You will get it from Laura.
Yes.
Your management is a lot different than lawn management.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny because somebody says, and I even tell the master gardeners, if somebody asks you about growing Bahia grass in their front lawn, you can answer it. But if they're growing Bahia grass in a pasture, send it to Laura, because even though it's the same grass, you have to be very careful about what you spray on it and how you control weeds and everything else, because you have animals eating it. And maybe your home lawn, your dogs nibble on it some. I know ours do, but I don't have anything grazing the lawn in the backyard.
Right. Yeah. We're using the Bahia grass as edible horticulture.
Oh,
Exactly.
Brenda's here joining us.
Okay. Facebook user, who is somebody who is viewing from our Facebook group, says, "Yay, I have been waiting to get in contact with her." So, Laura, I guess that means that you have another question.
Yeah. I guess, should I put my email address and information in the chat? Or is that not functioning on?
No, you can do that. I'm not sure who all it shows up on.
Well, but Bill can show it all across the banner, like you do.
Sure. What is your email?
It's Laura H. and then Bennett, 2 N's and 2 T's,
Mm-hmm.
at ufl.edu.
No dots in there?
No, not my name. No,
Does
That's
it look
it.
like that?
that's it.
Oh, is there supposed to be an H in there?
Yes,
It's in there.
she said that.
Okay, I got it correct.
Yes, you did. Hey, are you going to hassle her about her long email?
Well, hers is memorable. I can remember the at ufl.edu. You have hernando.fl.us.gov. It starts to get confusing. I can't really order. So, hey guys, if you guys have any questions about lawns and gardens or pastures or goats or chickens or anything, just feel free to go ahead and type them in, and we'll show them and we'll answer them. And today is kind of a special day, a special show, because this is technically the 1-year anniversary of our weekly virtual plant clinic. So I don't want to get too choked up here or anything, but I couldn't believe a couple weeks ago, I thought, well, yeah, COVID's been around for about a year, and I started this right after it started, and I had to go back and look at my paperwork, and the first one was right about April 1st. So today is, and this isn't an April Fool's joke or anything, but today is our 1-year anniversary show. So thank you, Brenda. I think you've been on just about all of them. Haven't you been on? Who here listening has been on watching this since the beginning for a year? Because I know at the very beginning, it'd be myself and Lily and 2-3 people. So it started off small. It's grown a little bit. I know that I need to promote it a lot more to get more people to join in.
And we have people joining from all over the state. I'm looking for Buddy. Buddy usually comes to all of these.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was in my class yesterday. Here comes Karen.
So let me ask everybody, go ahead and type in, if you can, where you live, like what county you're from. And if it's a county from another state, tell us what state also, because I don't know all the counties in all the states. And we have somebody else popping in here too, Karen. So you guys are going to, she's cycling in right now.
Yeah, she has connection issues at her office. I know.
That could be.
Yes. So.
Yeah, Brenda's been working from home for over a year also.
So have I. Mid-March is when I went home last year for about 2.5 weeks in June. They said, come back. And then they said, no, go home again. Been home ever since. I will be, it is the plan, I will be back in the office May 3rd. So got 1 more month of this at-home work. It's going to be an adjustment to get used to like driving to work and, you know, not being able to clean up the kitchen during breaks and things like that. But yeah. Summerland.
Boy, we have people on here from all over. We have a number of people from Citrus County. Stephanie from Fernando.
Twiggs, Georgia.
Twiggs, Georgia. Good morning.
I don't even know where that is.
Christina, how on earth did you hear about us to tune in? I'm just curious. I'm trying to figure out how well our marketing and advertising works.
I had a person attending my class. Karen and I did a class yesterday. I had a person from the Philippines watching.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Joy, you can go ahead and type in your question about your bird of paradise, because it really helps us answer your questions better if we know where you are. Because if you're asking about a certain plant and you live in Tallahassee, it's very different than Hernando County and very, very different from Broward County. So I know the first time somebody asked me about coconut palms, I'm thinking, are you trying to grow them here in Hernando County? And they said, no, I live in Broward County. Oh, well, you can grow them down there.
Right.
Here in Hernando, yeah, it gets a little sketchy. So
Aaron keeps trying.
We got a question or two here, I think.
You did. There was one about the lubber grasshoppers I saw hopping by.
Well, here, let's start with Bob's question, and I believe Bob's in Sanford or in Seminole County. Says he has a question about planting trees. To what degree should you amend the soil in the planting hole or immediate area, or better to just use the existing soil? Kind of depends on the tree. If it's a native tree or an ornamental tree, like let's say an oak or a maple or a magnolia, something like that, there's no point amending the soil, because any organic matter you put in there is going to break down and disappear in the not too terribly distant future anyway, because those trees are going to be there for a very, very long term. Citrus does just fine in pure sand. All the citrus grows out in Lake County and everywhere else in Central Florida. We're on the high, dry, sandy areas, so they don't mind sand. So if it's a tree that's going to be there for many years, there's no benefit to amending the soil. Just put it in the native soil. Plant it at the same depth it was growing in the pot. Don't plant it deeper. If you plant it, Lily, what's that saying about planting trees too deep? Or
If you plant them high and they won't die, plant them low and they won't grow.
okay, so if you plant it too low, they will not grow, and in about 3 years they will die.
Yeah, they'll fall over. They'll grow. The roots will grow in a circle, or
Yeah.
grow up trying to find oxygen. I always tell people you're going to be a little uncomfortable with how high it is, but that is preferred to planting it low. It's going to be okay. It'll adjust, being a little high. But
And if you plant it a little bit high, it will over time settle another half an inch, and it ends up being the perfect depth. Because I know our county forester told me before, when she goes out and looks at people with trees that they had planted in a subdivision or whatever, and they're dying, 9 times out of 10 is because they planted them too deep. And people think, oh, it's an insect, it's a disease, what do I spray? It's like, no, it just got planted too deep 3 years ago, and now it's to the point where it dies from being too deep.
Or in a storm, it's just going to fall over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning,
And
Karen.
there's a flare on the bottom of a tree and a shrub where, it literally flares out. You should see that. That wants to be out of the ground. So Karen came through, Bill.
I did.
Yes, it took a little while to cycle through.
Yeah, I've been having difficulties.
That's okay. We all have bad internet days, I think. Over the last year, I've just completely dropped once or twice, like where I drop out of a Zoom. I've learned to always have a co-host on Zoom, because if you disappear, the co-host is still there.
Right.
I don't think I've totally disappeared from the plant clinic. I've gotten choppy a few times.
Yes.
Okay, well, watch today. Today you'll just see me disappear or something.
Remember that was from the 80s, that Max Headroom?
Yeah.
It kind of just all pixelates. Karen has
I did have a problem coming in on the link you sent me. So I don't know if anyone else is going to have the same problem. You had an S in there, HTTPS. So it wasn't loading. So you may want to fix that if anyone else is just clicking that link of your visitors.
No, I got
You
right
may
in.
want to resend them a link.
I got right in with that.
You did?
He emailed it to me this morning, though, the link he emailed me.
Okay. The
Yeah.
one that was in the group one was had an S
Oh.
on it. Yeah. So
Okay.
just a heads
Well,
up.
that's what Laura had. She was able to get in.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I hand typed it in without the S and I got in. So,
Oh, okay.
but it's great to be
So
here.
you're not secure. You're not secure. Karen is from Hernando County Mosquito Control. Now that we've had a full discussion with her. And she often joins me in classes. We did a whole class yesterday together because Bill abandoned me. And so Karen stepped right up and helped.
Yeah, last minute mandatory meeting. So
Yes.
I'm always willing to get out there and let everyone know about our department and that we're here for help, assistance, answering any questions or fixing the mosquito problems, which kind of goes hand in hand with the gardening and the planting and the yard work.
it does. So if you have any mosquito questions, just go ahead and type them in. But Susan, and I like the way that she phrased this also, asked about those black crickets, and what those are is lover grasshoppers. And oh my gosh, we haven't gotten that many phone calls, but every time I go on Facebook, the different gardening groups, all I see is one picture after another. What are these, and what do I do about them? They're eating everything in my yard. So Susan says, can I vacuum them up off the wall or just practice IPM benign neglect? And
I like that. I can write that down. IPN, benign neglect. I like that.
You know, do the benign neglect, because I went out and checked my vegetable garden last night. I still have some carrots finishing up, and I saw a couple lover grasshoppers sitting on them. And I didn't look really closely, but I looked pretty close, and I could not see any foliage that they've eaten or damaged. There's not any leaves missing. They're just sitting there. So, you know what I did? Nothing.
Nothing.
I just left them.
I was at a ballpark the other evening and watching my granddaughter's softball game, and somebody started in the parents started jumping around, and she was yelling that a cricket had gotten into her shoe, and I thought for sure it was going to be a leopard grasshopper, and I didn't see it, but then I heard her. She must have got on her phone, and she declared it a mole cricket, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, sure. I'm sure it was a leopard. Oh no, it hopped by me. It was actually a mole cricket, and then it dawned on me. Well, yeah, I'm in all these recreational fields of Bahia grass. That does make sense. And there was a little girl following it around trying to catch it, and I thought you would be so proud of her, Bill.
That's great. A little entomologist in training.
Yes, yes.
And if it was dark and you're out there underneath the ballpark lights, that's what attracts them. So
Okay.
that's why
Yeah.
they're out there. So Susan also is wondering, is it too late to plant a hefty-sized bougainvillea on the scorched earth side of her house? She must be the left side. I moved her hand out.
I kind of missed that nuclear bomb. I don't think it's ever too late to plant bougainvillea, is it?
No. And now is a fine time. The freezes are all over and done with. It's supposed to get chilly tonight, but it's not supposed to be a major freeze. It's your really tender tropical plants and orchids. If you drag them all out into the backyard in the shade, you may have to drag them back in, but something like a bougainvillea, it has to get to 32 or below to get any real damage. Same with a lot of other plants. So I wouldn't think that tonight's really going to damage a whole lot.
And I said this about the last cold front. I'm sure this is the last one. In April, it's unusual that we're having it. So.
And this is for Laura. Brenda says she misses her back pasture lunch walk if she has to go back in the office. So.
Yes. Oh, Karen disappeared again.
Oh. Yeah, I
was
guess Karen's going to be popping on and off internet problems.
There she comes back. I was going to say, you two, Laura and Karen, can discuss, because she works a lot with agricultural type, situations with mosquito control.
Mm-hmm.
And, they offer like the fishes in the drinking troughs and in ponds and things like that. So.
And Christina is in Central Georgia. And Laura, we have a livestock question here for you. So you can tell your boss that you were answering questions in Central Georgia this morning.
Do you do little livestock, Laura?
Yes. I'm not as well versed in the rabbits as I am in the poultry. I don't think I'm trying to think of what the two of them can't have. That one can have, the other can't. I'm not thinking of anything right offhand that would, because, if you think about it, when you turn chickens out, they'll eat anything and everything that they can get their beaks on. And, I would say food wise, I would say I'm not thinking of anything that can't cross over. Just anytime you're going to use pesticides to control anything like mites and all that, I just always read the label, make sure that it's not going to do something to the other. And if you read the labels, it's always, that's your insurance policy. But I can't think of anything food wise that the one can't have. We just have to always make sure we have plenty of forage for the rabbit, because they like to have something that they can process, because they're almost fully a ruminant, but not quite. But they don't necessarily want nearly the grain that the chickens would want.
They want leafy stuff.
Yes.
Yep. We had a rabbit as a pet, and oh my gosh, he lived to be about 10 years old. And he absolutely loved all the scraps off my vegetable garden, the green stuff off of radishes and carrots, and peelings and everything else. Oh my gosh, that was one happy, well cared for rabbit. And we have another question for you about chickens. So Johanna says she has a story with a question. I have 5 2-year-old layer chickens, and one of them is a bully, literally. So recently I bought a very handsome 6-month-old Amber Americana rooster, and he hasn't been able to show he is the leader because Bully keeps pulling his feathers and chasing him around. So the question is, what can I do to help him and my girls get along? So I guess you're a livestock relationship expert.
Oh gosh, I know. It's so hard because, that pecking order is a very, very real thing. And it's so hard because it's so hard to bring new into the old because it can be painful for a while, literally painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard of people putting the new one in a smaller, I'd say, crate in the
Like a small dog crate, even.
Yes, and just kind of get them accustomed to each other across the fence, if you will, for a little while. I don't know if that will totally help. Sometimes it's just you just have to let them get their establishment set up so that because that is definitely what they do. But I'll try to research more into that about how to integrate new poultry in with old, because that's really what it boils down to, is getting the new hierarchy established. But
it's kind of like when you join a new office.
Yeah, except it's illegal for us.
Yes, we can't literally peck each other. No,
HR does not approve.
No.
But no, if you don't mind, if you'll send me a quick email and say, hey, I'm the person that asked about integrating the chickens, and then I'll see what I can find out.
My daughter has chickens, and she has like her pen is set up with 2 different sections. So she puts the new ones in, a different section till they're trying to get used to each other for several weeks.
Yeah, it's a real drag whenever you have to try to get that done. It's really hard.
Okay, Joy in Volusia County is asking about her bird of paradise plant, and she says it won't bloom and it looks terrible, and she doesn't know how to send a picture. So
it's kind of early for it to bloom.
And email a picture. You can email it to me at wlester@ufl.edu. But with the bird of paradise in Volusia County, it's going to get damaged every winter, at least a little bit, by the cold weather. So every year, right around this time of year, middle of March up to early April, you need to go out there and clean it up and trim off all the dead brown stuff. And then it'll grow back over the summer, the spring and the summer. And they have to be at least a couple years old before they start flowering. I'm thinking a lot of people in Central Florida say 4 or 5 years. Now, I'm sure in South Florida, it might be 6 months and they start flowering. Things grow faster down there. But generally here in Central Florida, it's a couple years.
Yeah, they're a more tropical kind of plant. They will grow here, but
yeah.
But you're taking you're experimenting with them.
Yeah, because every winter, it kind of grows and gets older and moves along, and every winter when the cold hits it, it gets knocked back. It doesn't die, it'll recover and keep growing, but every winter it gets knocked back a little bit. So it takes longer to become large and fully mature and start to flower either on and off or reliably. But they can, and they will flower eventually.
Especially in microclimates, like under trees.
Yeah, having it up close to the house helps. If you have it out in the middle of your yard, it's going to get that much worse. Sorry. Ours do the same thing. So, sorry, viewers. We all have dogs, and they all pop up at one time or another. So, Lorraine says the caterpillars are back. Yes, they are. I read that BT works, and yes, it does. Wondering if anybody has used it. I've used it many times on my vegetable garden. So whether you're growing tomatoes and you got tomato hornworms, or during the winter, if you're growing cabbage or kale or something green and leafy and you get caterpillars, BT works very well. The caterpillar has to actually eat the leaf that has the BT on it. So that takes about a day. And the caterpillar doesn't fall over dead or disappear immediately. It stops feeding right away. And then within a day or so, the caterpillar will perish. And BT works really well on caterpillars and doesn't hurt anything else. So if a caterpillar eats a leaf with BT on it and a bird comes by and eats the caterpillar, or a lizard or some other animal, doesn't hurt the bird, doesn't hurt the animals. Generally very safe to use and very effective for caterpillars, but it will not work on anything other than caterpillars. So big black grasshoppers, not going to work on them. Stink bugs, doesn't work on them. Makes them angry when you spray it on them, but it doesn't kill them or damage them or stop them or anything. Yeah, so Joy's saying that her bird of paradise bloomed once about 2 years ago. That's great. So it's obviously large enough and old enough for it to flower. The leaves grow up and turn brown and curl up, and the whole plant is ugly. It's probably mostly from cold damage, is my guess, during the winter. You can trim it to the ground, but you really only want to trim off just the dead leaves. Anything that's still alive on it, you want to keep. And it will kind of continue to add to it and keep growing back. A lot of decorative grasses you can cut just right down to ground level and they'll grow right back. It doesn't really bother them. But a bird of paradise, you probably don't want to completely prune it to the ground. You just want to take off all the dead stuff. Now, if everything is dead stuff, you may end up basically pruning it back to the ground. Oh, we have a very complicated question on mosquitoes here. Where is Karen? Hopefully Karen will come back. So Bob asks on mosquitoes, what do you think about traps that use pyriproxyfen for larval control plus Beauveria bassiana, which I know is a bacteria for adult control? That's I'm really not too familiar with using either. Karen could probably give you a lot more information on that. I don't know if I have her email as one of our things.
I'm here, but my cam.
Okay, I can hear Karen.
Okay, my cam and my mic won't work at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I'm not familiar with either of them either. He can send me an email and I can see if I can find out for you and get back to you, but neither of those I'm familiar with myself. So I'm going to leave you the email, which is KMOJ. If I put it in the chat, will he see it? The one that I have here?
Yes, he should.
Okay, then let me do that.
Well, here, go ahead and say it also, and I'll make it. I'll try to get it right.
So it's KMOJICA at hernandocounty.us. And I will see if I can get any information for you and do that. Because neither of those are what we use here.
Okay. Yeah, because I know the Beauveria is a bacteria, and different species of it are used as a biological control for a lot of different pests, although I'm not really familiar with what they're currently using to control mosquitoes. I know that you guys try to use as many biocontrols as you can, whatever's going to be effective. And Well, here, Laura, we have Christina again. Her goal is to plant and grow things for the rabbits and chickens to eat in addition to their feed. And you are on mute.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the trick is going to be, you'll probably have to creep graze the chickens on whatever you grow, because if you try to grow something in their habitat, as you know, they'll just annihilate it. It's gonna be a dirt lot. So if you can plant outside of where they normally reside, it should work. Now, this time of year, let's see, what would be, I'm trying to think of something. You could probably try some of the, I'm trying to think now, millets. They would grow this summer, but it's going to get big. So you'd have to kind of manage it with mowing, because it will grow very large. I'm trying to think of a smaller speed. Like in the wintertime, ryegrass is a good one because they like it. But you'd have to creep graze that as well because it's pretty rich. That's a good question. I bet I can find, we've got a seed dealer here in Dade City, and they have a variety of mixes that you can plant for goats, or, that gives some variety. And I'm wondering if one of those mixes might be good, because it would provide both legumes and grasses. So if you don't mind,
In Georgia?
Excuse me?
Is Christine the one in Georgia? Christina?
Yes, she's in Central Georgia.
Yeah, and these would grow up there. They would be suitable for the Southeast. But if you would send me a email and say, hey, I asked about the rabbit and the chicken forage, I'll look it up for you, because I think there might be I think one of his goat mixes might work, and I'll see what's in it. And I can check also with some of our poultry people to see if it would be suitable for them.
Okay, and Janice has a strawberry question. I know that she's been asking strawberry questions recently. She said, thanks for the herbicide and water recommendations. Strawberries are doing great. That's great. She says, when the season's over, will they fruit again next season, or do I roll up and plant something else? You should probably plan on rolling them up and planting something else, and then planting strawberries again next October. Because commercially in Florida, nobody keeps the strawberry plants going year after year perennially like they do up north, because the summer here is just way too hard on strawberries. If you go on Facebook, there are some people on there who say that they've had them growing for years. They probably don't get very good production on them. They probably have to put a lot of insecticides and fungicides on them during the summer just to keep them just barely on life support and alive. And we don't want to, you really don't want to try growing things that you're going to have to put a lot of chemicals on in the hopes of keeping it alive during the summer. So do like the growers in Plant City do. And, when production drops off, which is going to be definitely within the next month or two, you'll know when it's time. Go ahead and pull them up. You can plant stuff this summer. Something that does well in the heat of summer is okra. So you can try growing okra. An essential for gumbo. And there's some other tropical vegetables you can grow. You can grow sweet potatoes. And as a general, if you grow sweet potatoes, they should be finishing right around the time when strawberries go back in the fall. So you might want to think about that. So even though technically you can keep them going, you probably don't want to keep them going.
Feed them to the chickens.
Sure, you can feed the strawberries to the chickens.
Yes, we were discussing that.
And Stephanie says, I have a lemon tree that I planted in the ground last year. I thought I planted it high enough, but in the last year it seems to have pulled itself down below the surrounding ground. Is there a fix? What do you think, Lily?
First of all, I would want to know where Stephanie is and how well that lemon tree is going to do overall. Because unless it's a Myers lemon, which is actually a sour orange, it's probably not going to do that well here in Central Florida. she's in South Florida, she's okay with that. But I don't know how to.
Stephanie's in Hernando County.
What kind of lemon tree is it?
I'll keep watching to see when she.
Yeah. If it's a Myers lemon, then that's fine. That's a sour
Mhm.
orange that we can grow. But like the other type of real lemon trees, well, you know, Bill, they're pushing it up here.
Yeah, lemon trees, as a general rule, don't take cold weather really well, and we're kind of on the edge.
It's a Myers lemon.
Okay. Yeah, people grow Myers lemons here, and some people do very, very well with them. I'm jealous. I need to get one and try it.
Yeah. But do you know how to raise it up? That's a good. Other than digging the ground around it, you know, to make it level.
You could try digging the ground up around it and basically replanting it, lifting it up some to get it a little higher if you think you could do that safely. And that depends on how well it's rooted. It may have tons of roots out there now. It may not have very many, and it may be possible to dig it up, raise it up a little bit, and end up planting it a little higher. Or you could take the area around the trunk and the base of the plant and clear it out. So now your lemon tree is growing in a little bit of a bowl.
But as long as it's like 3 feet, you know, of a bowl, it should be okay.
And as long as you don't mulch it or let a lot of sand and debris float in and fill the hole in, that would work. As a matter of fact, that little bit of a bowl
hold water.
Yeah. So it'll get better irrigated generally. So that'll probably work too. But yeah, Stephanie, if you ever start getting really good crops of Myers lemons, please be sure to drop some by our office. I do take donations.
It'd be a nice clearinghouse.
Exactly. We'll test them for quality and safety. And Carl up in Citrus County asked, what is the optimum for planting papaya that are 3 feet tall, about 1 inch or so thick trunk, full sun? They like full sun.
Papaya's pushing it too in Citrus County, isn't it?
Yes. Now you can grow papaya here, but it generally almost always freezes to one extent or another in the winter. If you have a protected spot up near the house, maybe a little bit under an oak tree, because papayas will take shade, but they do like plenty of sun. If you put it in a spot that's going to stay a couple degrees warmer on those cold nights in the middle of winter in Citrus County, that will really help the papaya suffer less cold damage. They always get some damage in the winter, unless you have a greenhouse or you're able to drag the pot inside in your living room. But if they're outside the
maybe your garage would be all right.
Yeah, in your garage, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
And Amira has a question: how to care for Bahia grass in Marion County. Just planted the lawn with scarified seeds after dealing more with weeds than grass.
I don't know if she solved her problem with seeds.
You can start Bahia from seed. Laura, how do people start pastures, and how do they deal with planting a pasture from Bahia seed? Because I know it's really hard for a homeowner. You can't let it dry out. And on a sunny day, that's not easy.
Yeah. Best practice is usually you want to totally kill the field first. If you're starting from scratch, you kill the field first with usually glyphosate. That's the cheapest thing. Then you disc it, and you disc it, and you disc it, and you disc it. And then you roll it you don't want it too fluffy because you won't get good seed to soil contact. So then you'll roll it to press it back down some. And then you wait until June or July to plant, because you got to have rainfall. You can't, this time of year, you can't plant for, pasture, because we don't have irrigation.
That don't have irrigation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have that. So
right.
A homeowner can, but what I tell them is you can't let the surface totally dry out. So if you're able to go out there more than once a day. We're talking 2 or 3 times a day or more with a garden hose, and just moisten the surface of the soil. You don't have to get it wet really deep, just the top 1/4 inch. That's going to really help with seed, grass seed germination. Because here in Hernando County, we're under once a week irrigation. And Lily, what can people not do if they're planting grass seed?
Well, that's what I was looking. Where does Amira live? I was trying to see.
She lives in Marion County. So
All right, so that'll be a different issue. But for those in Hernando, if in order for you to qualify for the new sod exemption with seed, you have to do what Laura just mentioned. You have to take away everything. That lawn has to be bare dirt and you seeded in order to qualify for the 60-day variance on the watering restrictions. So, just overseeding or seeding patches, you can use like a targeted method, like the old-fashioned hose end sprinkler for just that area. Or you could stand out there with the hose in your hand, as long as it's a self-canceling nozzle. It's a hard word for me to say. You can do that at any time, and there's no restrictions on that. But you wouldn't get the variance to leave your irrigation system on, once a day. It's like a graded schedule that we send you just from seeding, unless you have taken your lawn down to nothing and then seeded over it. And as we know, even with scarified seeds, that helps. But Bahia grass seeds are so tough, and those weeds are going to come back before those seeds germinate. So
yeah, that's a problem with starting from seed.
Yeah.
You have your Bahia seed out there, but you also have leftover weed seeds, and you always get both. And it becomes really, if you don't have good germination with the Bahia, you will get good germination with the weeds. Weeds germinate just great. I don't care how much or how little they get watered. They germinate just great. So you're going to have issues with Bahia versus weeds. Now, if you can handle a 50-50 mix or a certain percentage of weeds, then
we do.
That
Bill and I do. Yes.
Like my lawn?
Yeah, like my lawn.
Half Bahia, half weeds, and it is what it is. I got to cut it this weekend, but other than that.
Now, we only had to cut over the drainage field. The weeds over the drainage field.
Yeah, my springtime weeds are going like gangbusters. That's really the only thing out there that really needs cutting, but they kind of need cutting. So
yeah, tidy up your weeds. That's what.
So Johanna is complaining about the caterpillars that are out there right now. And Lily, what kind of caterpillars are those?
Well, I imagine if she lives in an area with a lot of oak trees, she has a tussock moth caterpillar infestation.
Yep.
And I wouldn't use anything on them, especially 7 that's going to kill some of your good bugs as well. They are born a million miles up there in the trees. You're never going to reach them up there, and they're going to be gone in about a week or 2. And yes, they put cocoons all over everything. I have lived it. I lived in downtown Brooksville, and I've had them falling on my head. But there's not really much you can do except wait them out and then pressure wash your house.
Because by the time you notice them, their life is most of the way over. So they fall out, they feed up in your oak trees, and you never notice them when they're up there eating when they're small and young. But then they get to a point where they're ready to make a cocoon. They drop out of the trees, and that's when you notice them, and they head off and make a cocoon. So there's really not much point spraying, because within about a week or so, the caterpillars will be gone. They will all be in their cocoons, and they suffer as much as 90% mortality in their cocoons from different beneficial and parasitoid wasps and lots of other insects. So don't think every cocoon is going to turn into a moth that's going to lay 1,000 eggs each, and next year.
The cocoons are still a pain to get off of your house, or your grill, or whatever the heck they put themselves on, but it'll be gone in a few weeks. That's one of the prices for living under those beautiful oak trees. Yeah,
and the population of those caterpillars varies year to year. Some years we have very few. If you live way out in the country, you're going to call us and complain, but not many other people do. This year seems to be a heavy year, which we haven't had for a couple years. But that's okay. In a week or so, boom, they'll all be gone, forgotten, over, done with. And Christina with the rabbits and chickens says, thank you all so much. So you're very welcome, Christina. Keep tuning in. And like I said, if you ask me complicated pasture questions, I'm just going to send them to Laura. So,
or complicated mosquito trap questions,
sure,
send to Karen.
That's where it's nice to know the right people. I can send them the questions. So Susan wants to know, are neighborhoods generally toxic to bees?
Depends on the neighborhood.
Depends on the neighborhood, depends on how much the neighbors spray. Unfortunately, a lot of people spray all these different things because they think they have to, or as a preventative, and they're really not called for. If you ask me your insect pest and pest control questions, if it doesn't rise to the level of you have to spray, I will not recommend that you spray with anything. And I'll always recommend the least toxic thing to start with. And like Johanna mentioned that she bought 7 and one of her neighbors told her to use barrier. I've been with Extension for 7 years, and I think I've recommended 7 to be used less than 5 times. And that was because it was a very specific situation, very specific pest, and that was the called for control. So I don't go, I'll spray 7 for everything, imaginary bugs and grasshoppers and everything else. You know, we follow IPM, and if Karen was still on here, she'd tell you that mosquito control follows IPM also. Laura, I'm sure when she's telling people what to do in pastures, does the same thing.
And what is IPM, Dr. Lester?
Integrated pest management, where you take a lot of different steps to diagnose and identify and figure out what your real problem is and how to fix it long term. And it's a lot more complicated than my plants don't look right, I'm going to run to the store, buy 7 and spray it all over and hope for the best. We don't give those kind of recommendations. So Susan,
I think by the neighborhood, she's maybe what I envision with her question is, you know, some of the gated communities where all day long you see all the lawn workers all over the place spraying different things and stuff. That's probably what she's asking about. And yeah, that probably could be of damage to. And we don't know the specifics. We haven't researched how native bees are impacted by general everyday lawn care. Maybe somebody out there has. Seems like that should be a thing.
Well, I can tell you native bees, over half of them are nest in the ground.
Right.
They're solitary individual bees. They don't have a nest. They're just, you know, individuals. And they make a little hole in the ground, and that's where they do their native bee thing and live their lives out.
70%. I saw that statistic.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, 70%. And then the others, they're still solitary. I think the only native bees that are not solitary are bumblebees. Isn't that correct?
Some bumblebees, because they live in loose colonies.
Okay.
So they're between solitary and social. So sure, if you keep spraying pesticides all over your lawn, all over the ground, you know, it is going to be very damaging to their populations. So,
which is why Florida Friendly Landscaping always promotes spot treatments, integrated pest management, which is like a pyramid. And that very tip top is before you do all these other things before you get to using a chemical, but also not broadcast spraying just everywhere preventative, because what you're doing then is you're killing everybody. You're killing all of our friends, all of our beneficial or benign insects that aren't really doing anything except providing a good food source for, you know, our critters. And most of the pest insects, by their nature of being pests, they are, you know, kind of invasive. So also by that nature, they're the ones who are going to regenerate faster, and you just killed off all your friends with friendly fire. And, you know, you created more of a problem than you had before.
Yeah, because I've seen in the past people use broad spectrum insecticides to kill insect A, and it doesn't do 100% job. It's reasonably effective, but not 100%. And then they wonder why a month later they have a huge outbreak of spider mites on their roads and everything else.
And yeah, the ones that it does
beneficials that always control those spider mites that you've always had, but now there's nothing to keep them under control, and you have a huge outbreak. Then they have an outbreak of something else. Usually you end up with bigger and worse problems down the road the more you spray.
That, and who is going to survive your spraying but the strong ones?
The spider mites.
Of the spider mites, or whatever your target is. Who's left now to breed? The strong ones.
Spider mites.
Congratulations, you have created a super race of the pest insects, you know.
And spider mites have really unusual genetics when they reproduce. And I'm not going to get too deep into the science because it's really complicated, but they develop resistance in their offspring very, very quickly. So if you spray spider mites and one of them is genetically resistant, pretty soon you're going to have about 10,000 of them.
Of course, you left that one, to breed.
His resistant gene.
Yeah.
And mites are unique, kind of unique that way. They do that quicker than other insects, although other insect pests do the same thing.
Yes, but also you have killed off every critter that was helping you.
Yep.
Get them under control.
Yep. So Brenda, one of our regular listeners and master gardener, said when it comes to chickens, she usually puts the new chicks in with the old after dark. The others are roosting and seems to work, not 100%, but we've been successful. And she's also sectioned off the big coop for the smaller ones and opened it after a few weeks, and that works too. So what does our chicken relationship expert say about that?
Yeah, those are all good ideas to gently integrate them. And hopefully the whole process will be gentle because they are pretty ornery. But yeah, those are good ideas.
Okay, Christina asks, can we recommend a nursery that sells cold hardy citrus? I want to be able to plant the trees into the ground. If you're up in central Georgia, that's got to be really cold hardy citrus. I know that mandarins grow up north, and they're hardy at least as far as the Florida Panhandle. Much further north than that, I'm not really sure. I'd look online. I'd start searching on Google.
Or find your county extension office up there and, ask them. Or call Osceola County Extension Office. Their director is from Georgia.
He is.
He's an agriculture agent. He is from the, about an hour outside of Savannah. So he might be able to answer your question. Look up Osceola County Extension and ask for Dr. Stacy Strickland. He might have the answer for you if you can catch him.
And tell him that we sent you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You'll recognize the Georgia accent. He still has it, so.
She might not. She might not hear it at all.
Yeah, she'll be like, what accent? Sounds normal to me.
But you can tell him Lily said to call you.
But yeah, I know that there are, believe it or not, cold hardy citrus varieties that are good up to North Florida and the Florida Panhandle. You could also try looking up University of Georgia citrus and see what kind of citrus information your land grant university up there in Georgia has. And they should have information and lists and where it's going to grow and what varieties to look for. And really the best place to look for specific varieties is online. Just order it online, have them ship it to you. FedEx guy will bring it to your front door. I don't think he'll plant it for you, but that's anymore. I'm spoiled when it comes to that. And Brenda has a couple bird of paradise plants, and they do revive every year, and they're white. Yeah, they get knocked back every year, and they look pretty rough by March 1st. Just clean them up, and this, starting from now all the way through summer, they're going to grow. They're going to come back.
And speaking of March 1st in Hernando County, this is the first day you can fertilize your lawn. That does not mean to run out there and do it. And if you wait a few hours, Bill and I are going to create a very short little video about that, and it'll be available on our Facebook pages. Just to give you some cautions, that doesn't mean go buy a bag of fertilizer and throw it all over your lawn. There's a lot more to it than that. So, and neither one of us are going to fertilize. Are you going to fertilize, Bill?
Oh, gosh, no.
No. But, you know, for those who do, we're going to help direct you.
Here, can you see the picture of the bird of paradise plant that we've been talking about all morning long?
Yes. It's quite rough.
Yes.
That's really just the flowers, though, isn't it? It looks like the leaves are okay.
Over half of the leaves are okay. About a third or to a quarter of them are pretty brown. So any of those completely brown leaves, follow them back all the way as low as you can go down to the ground and clip them totally off. Any of the leaves that I would say are like over half brown, go ahead and follow them to the bottom, clip them all the way off, and then keep it reasonably well watered. You know, if it's not raining, provide some water. And because of the weather we're getting into, it should do just fine after this. It should grow back. It does not seem to have any problem other than basically cold damage.
Yeah, and that's not even a lot of cold damage. It'll be all right.
Yeah, I've seen worse. I've seen more lost, basically.
Yeah. You see the poinsettia question?
Yeah, well, hold on a second, because
okay,
I have another picture here, too.
All right.
And, well, here, let me pull up the whole email here. Okay, here we go. This is from Gonzalo, and he's from Miami-Dade, so a little outside of Hernando County, but that's okay. He has an avocado tree that does not bear fruit. It's been damaged by a storm, and some type of pest is getting into it. The branches also have a funky mold or disease on them. All the trees on my property have that. Any help would be appreciated. Thank you. And let's get into just the pictures here. We get past the old death spin.
You got it.
That looks like, just on first glance, because it's a pale yellow, it probably needs to be fertilized with a balanced fruit tree fertilizer. There is a formulation they have for mangoes, avocados, and other fruit trees, I think. The little holes are from some random insect feeding on it, probably a beetle. Now that mold, or the whitish substance that you see on the trunk there, is just a lichen and shouldn't be a problem with avocados, but I can't say for sure because I am not the avocado expert here.
Lichen is not a problem with anything else, so I don't think it would be.
Yeah, this leaf here seems to have a little bit of a fungal leaf spot problem on it, and the whole tree looks like it's lost, a number of leaves. So starting at the beginning here, if your tree got cold weather, and this all in Miami-Dade, I know even when you guys consider it cold down there, it's not really cold. My guess is it probably wasn't really cold weather damaged. Avocados, like most other fruit trees, do have a number of different fungal problems that they can have issues with. So you need to plan on using a fungicide on it on a regular basis. And let me close that door there. So you're going to have to get a fruit tree fungicide. Oh my gosh. Sorry, all the electronics are going off here this morning. Probably what you would want to do is contact Miami-Dade Extension Office, and you do have one. It's a very large office. There's more people that work there than work here in Hernando County. So you do have a homeowner landscape person. You do have fruit and vegetable crop experts there. So go ahead and contact your county extension office to get more specific information on what kind of avocado problems you have there. Because I could tell you, probably need to plan on spraying with a fungicide on some kind of regular basis. You're going to have to plan on fertilizing it, and it will probably look a lot better after that, because avocado trees down there in Miami grow like great big weeds. They can grow very, very quickly. People will plant groves, or they switch from one variety of avocado, they graft a different variety on, and within 1, 2, 3 years, they're in full production. Avocados grow fantastic down there. I wish they grew that well in my yard here, because I would probably stuff about 10 avocado trees in my backyard. So I'm kind of jealous, but that's what I do. I go ahead and contact your local extension office down there. They can give you more specific recommendations as far as what brand or type of fungicide to use, and more importantly, when you want to spray it down there, because your weather patterns are a little bit different from ours. So see, we get questions from all over the place here.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's April. Can she prune her poinsettia? It's an A month.
Where is that? Because I'm trying to keep going down here.
It's Susan. It's the second to the last one.
Oh, you're all the way down to the bottom. Here, I'm farther. Well, okay, we'll just, Susan has several questions on here, so we'll start with the first one. And this is our weekly recipe question here. So I guess everybody is going to force us to put together our own cooking show, cooking and plant clinic show. I wonder how well that would work. But yeah, we need to think about putting our own healthy cooking show together. And
it's not as easy as it sounds, because you need a food safety expert on hand, and so there's always a lot of rules.
Oh, I would be pulling in all the extension, family, and consumer services people, and they're the ones who would be going over that part.
Yes.
I can tell you what I like to eat, and I like Vietnamese summer rolls, and so does Susan, and she's making them for Easter. Can she use African basil I got from the Master Gardener Nursery that is thriving, or is it ornamental only? If it's African basil, it's edible. It's very edible. Oh my God, I can't even guess how many different varieties of basil there are, but there's a lot of them. And African basil, or I think it's also called African blue basil, is very attractive. So you could just grow it as an ornamental, but you can eat it also. So it's safe to eat. All real basil is safe to eat. So yeah, definitely put it in the Vietnamese summer rolls. And Susan, when we start our regular cooking specials, we expect you to log on and ask lots of questions and help us out. And going on to Susan number 2, she says, thank you for a year of advice. Although I've only benefited from recent participation. Didn't know.
They're all recorded. They're all recorded. You can binge watch us.
There you go. Stay up all night long and just watch all the episodes back to back to back. And coming up to the poinsettia, Susan says, it's April. Can I prune my poinsettia? The answer to that is definitely yes. Poinsettias, after the holidays, you can plant them out in your yard after the danger of freezes and frosts are all over with, which is now. And you want to prune them in the months that begin with A. So that would be April, and that would be August. So April, you need to prune them some and get them cleaned up, get the old blooms off, the old dead stuff off, get them all cleaned up, and then they're going to grow during the spring into the summer. In August, they're probably going to be looking pretty leggy. So you need to prune them back a little bit to get them less leggy and a bit more compact, get all the dead stuff off of them, and then leave them alone.
No later than August, because then you'll cut off your red bracts and stuff for the winter.
Exactly. You just let them go, and they're going to grow back a little bit. And when the days get shorter, the poinsettia is going to know, like, oh, the holidays are coming. I need to make flowers. And it should flower, not necessarily on Christmas Day. Sometimes they do it early, sometimes they do it late. But over the winter, it should flower again if it's otherwise healthy outdoors.
If you can control so that there's no light on them, they will also react better. They don't like light, during the night. They have to have so many hours of darkness. That's what the books say. I've seen others under street lights grow just fine. So,
Yeah. Well, I think maybe if you have an outdoor spotlight that's shining directly on them a lot, that's going to throw off its timing. It will never know that we're going into fall and the days are getting shorter. But that's not an absolute. So Amira says, thanks for the info. And I can see by the little clock here, we're kind of running up towards the end here. Christina says, I think y'all asked earlier about how I knew about this. I'm a master gardener through the University of Georgia Extension Office and follow a few pages. I just kind of pop into places that will help me learn.
This is a great time.
That's great.
That's kind of one, really good benefit of COVID is everybody got online and reached out and reached more people. And yeah, there's so many opportunities for learning. I have different extension office classes on one monitor while I'm working doing other stuff too, because we can always learn something. There's always more I can learn from them and then pass on to others. That was a nice way of saying stealing their information.
we share.
We don't share. That's great.
Share. Okay, we have one more question from one of our regulars, Carol Ann McTeague, with some questions about lantana issues, and she sent me some pictures. So it seems like today everybody's making use of Bill's email and sending pictures, which works great on here. So
I see. Oh, wow.
So Lily, what do you think about this one?
I think it's dead.
Now that's what it looked like. And it's a very attractive yellow lantana that grew very tall. That's one of the newer varieties that you buy at the big box stores or the nurseries. Which that kind of lantana is fine to grow.
But not in a pasture, right, Laura? No.
Yeah.
No, she can't talk. Okay.
No lantanas in the pastures.
Nope.
This one looks like it froze back pretty severely. Looking at the very bottom, I do see some green. So you're going to have to get out the clippers and patiently kind of go through branch by branch by branch and do your very best to remove as much of the totally dead stuff as you can and leave behind any branches that look like they're still green or alive or starting to get some new leaves on them. Make sure you water it well if it's dry and not raining. Go out there with just a watering can or a garden hose and specifically hit it to keep it moist. And I would say that one is still a little bit too soon to tell exactly how well it's going to work out.
You're much more optimistic than I am, so I hope it works. I would suggest last rites, but
No, I've seen plants that are in really bad shape, and if you carefully go through and remove all the dead stuff, take good care of it, even watering. Don't worry about fertilizing it right now. Lack of fertilizer is not its problem. Give it a chance to start to sprout new leaves and new growth fortunately, Lantana really has very, very few disease and pest issues.
But as I was mentioning, with why I mentioned about pasture, it is poisonous. So if you have dogs that like to chase things, you might want to really watch them around that, or reconsider, your Lantana. Yeah, I mean, it'll take down a cow. So, be real careful with your much smaller animals. Yes.
Yes, no Lantanas in the pasture.
Right.
And we got a lot of thank yous on here. And, and Carol Ann said that there were 3 of the same plants. Only one of them looks like what we saw there, like extremely brown.
Could have shielded the other ones. Maybe that's just where the freeze or frost landed. Could be how it was planted. It could be something that happened at the nursery. Just never really.
Yeah, and could the pest control people have destroyed it? Sure, that's always a possibility. Anytime you're using any kind of herbicides or really any kind of chemicals around flower beds, just the slightest breeze is going to blow stuff around. You could have gotten drift from an herbicide onto it. Sometimes those individual plants, unless they get really well established and the roots really spread and go out, they can dry out in the roots. They get root rot problems. There's a lot of different things that 1 out of 3 could die from. But it doesn't look like a total definite loss yet. I'm a little bit more positive than Lily is. So if you clean it up and give it a good shot, it may come back.
Mark this day. Usually it's the other way around.
It may come back. And she said it was fine 2 weeks ago. So it may come back, but it might not. So sometimes those things just fail to establish really well.
Did anybody put any weed and feed down near there or on your lawn? That might be an issue as well.
If they came and put down fertilizer, it could have been a weed and feed product that had the herbicide in it. That can cause a lot of problems with different plants and a lot of trees also.
Non-target organisms, yes.
Exactly. Off-target plants. So let's roll through our emails here. That is my email. If you have any other questions. That's Lily's email, the really, really long one. That's really hard to remember.
No, Lily B at HernandoCounty.us.
And if you have any more of those chicken or poultry
that one is Bill's dog. I just
And then for any of those last minute mosquito questions, go ahead and email Karen. She's more than happy to help you out and answer those questions. And everybody, wow, we went quite a while today. We had a really good stream, a good steady number of questions there. So as always, thank you so much, everybody. Please be sure to tune in next Thursday.
This is the year anniversary, and the world is opening up little by little, but this virtual plant clinic is going to continue, correct?
Yes, we will carry on. So hopefully,
and you also have an in-person Master Gardener at your office.
Yes, we do have Master Gardeners at the office if you want to stop by and ask us a question in person. But if the drive from Central Georgia to Hernando County is a little bit too far for you, we're going to be here every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Sometimes we have an issue with a holiday or something special, but as a general rule, we're going to be here every Thursday, and before you know it, we're going to be coming up on the 2nd anniversary. I don't want to get too sentimental about anniversaries, but thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on a really, really regular basis here and making this successful. And we will see you all here again next Thursday at 10 a.m. We're going to have a guest next week. I have no idea who, but I have a list of possibilities here, so I'll line something up for next week. Lily, our regular co-host, will definitely be on here, but we'll have some kind of surprise guest on here to make it interesting next week. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for a year of fun virtual plant clinics, and keep tuning in for year number 2, and we'll see you then. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good week.